Well, no, I mean, it's again part of the continuing process. And for me, and I'm sure very many other people, it continues beyond tonight in the abstract.
Yeah.
Because if it wasn't important, if it wasn't that kind of an importance, then we wouldn't be doing it the way we're doing it now. It's a little bit like a pitcher following through. Once the ball's out of his hand, why would it change?
Yeah.
It does change. There are physics behind that, I'm sure, that I don't understand, but if he wasn't intending to follow through, the pitch itself would not be the pitch it is. So the process continues itself. It continues itself into the next program and the program beyond that, and in fact, hopefully it continues itself into all the possible related manifestations in our lives, certainly all the musical ones.
And what's it been like, the rehearsals up to this? I know that the BPO, Ben refers to it sort of as a journey from the beginning of the. Can you just talk a bit about that?
That's what it is. It's a very nice organic, evolutionary process. It doesn't work. It works in a much more natural way than it works a lot of places. The feeling being that we assume and we hope that every small child has within themselves the capacity to evolve into a fully capable and perhaps even gifted human being, but they don't start out that way. And so it's a matter of our finding together the way to mature the concert rather than to being under a lot of pressure to play with a sort of artificial mentality, a rigored mentality, perfect from the get-go. Because it's not that you want to screw up, you're always trying to do the right thing subjectively. But objectively, that changes a lot in the course of the event, so that what felt like ground zero on day 1 is very different than what feels like ground zero on day 16. But you're always just trying to do your best instead of being worried about what somebody else is thinking about you. And that's a much more healthy, normal, and natural environment in which for anybody to do anything in.
Yeah, and it's a good learning environment for the students.
The only thing about it is that they're going to find something generally sicker and uglier when they get out of here. But at least they'll have this basis and at least some healthy philosophy to bring with them and to perhaps try to propagate somewhere else. And it's by no means a spoon-fed or pandering approach. In fact, it's quite a mature approach. It makes for better music, better musicians, and it would be a very good model. It would work, I think, almost anywhere where there's sanity. It's always better to work in a sane environment than nutty environment.
Usually, yes. And so you've been with the orchestra 19 or 20 years, but there's a handful of students who've just joined this year. How has that been, welcoming them in?
Oh, well, there's always been, in later years, there have been more students as the orchestra's become more generally professional. Along with that, the students who come into sub have tended to be more really, really good students. I think the demographics are such that the avocational players, although very valued, and by the way, some of them quite good, just in numbers are, percentage-wise, becoming reduced. And part of the reason for that is because we live in this extraordinarily wonderful community where we have the New England Conservatory and some other schools. And any musician anywhere on earth will tell you, every generation, better, sooner, quicker. There are kids playing in this orchestra now who could be, 20, 30 years ago, could be playing in the Philadelphia Orchestra. Now, all those institutions have gotten better for the same reason, because they're fed by the new young kids. Every generation, obviously you had your Mozarts and your Heifetzes and so forth, the great players that nobody's ever going to exceed anywhere, great musicians. But on a whole, I think that young musicians are better and more mature sooner than in any given previous generation, and that's a good thing.
Yeah.
You hope that they sit still long enough to learn or absorb things that simply smarts and quick reflexes won't give them, that they don't get so heady about what they can do so fast that they remain shallow in a way that hard work tends to draw in experiences that deepen.
Yeah.
If you don't have to work so hard, sometimes you don't get that unless you know the value of it. If you listen to older wonderful players. You learn things that you can't possibly learn from your own talent.
It's true. It's very, yeah.
So I'll warm up. I need to warm up.